Adults, Johanna Russell here, and I am either your student or your child's art teacher. And I have already talked to you in a different video about how the world of art has changed. And now that might leave you wondering, well, how do I talk to my student about their art? Or how can I help them through this process because I see and appreciate the value that it will have in my child's future. So the good news is that you talking to your child about what happens in the art studio not only is important as a way to engage with your child, but also helps to strengthen and speed the learning progression. So we are going to use an example from one of my high school students. She was in a Drawing 1 class and she was a freshman. And we're going to look at it to compare what you would have seen to what you now see and how you can ask questions. So, Miss Stephanie, this is her artwork. Now, she was in a Drawing 1 class, which traditionally, if you and I took a Drawing 1 high school art class, we would have learned realistic drawing. And in fact, Miss Stephanie did learn realistic drawing. But because the focus was on the artistic process, that learning of the knowledge was only phase 1 of a 4-step process. So she learned how to draw realistically. She then took that and had to combine it with something else. In this case, she happened to want to combine it and explore an emotion. There, she made an art plan. She created her art piece almost all the way done. She then got feedback from her peers, from myself, and from research, and edited and fine-tuned through the last 10%. Once she was done, this work was displayed. Hence why you'll notice that it was actually matted, which is why the edge doesn't matter. Once she did that, she then reflected on the whole experience. This is essentially when the art would come home or when you might see it on display, whether digitally or in person. So, how do you talk to Stephanie about her work? The first thing that you can do is quite simple. Tell me about what you created. And then, from there, start to dive into open-ended questions. So, for example, what were you hoping to gain from this piece? What successes did you have during its creation? What struggles did you have? If you were to make this piece over again, what would you do differently? When you look at your artwork, what are some emotions that you have? How do you see this influencing future art pieces that you make? Any questions that organize themselves into an open-ended, free response are excellent. And sometimes when you ask your kid about school and all they're like, is this fine? If you ask specific open-ended questions about their artwork, trust me, you won't be able to get them to stop talking. So, there is, unfortunately, some things that you don't want to say. And it's super hard because as parents, it's what we were trained to do. It's what we learned as a student. It's what we want as people because it's what we had as students. You don't want to look at the art and judge it. Now, you're thinking, of course I'm not going to judge their artwork. But judgments can be positive, negative, and neutral. And we want to refrain from all three. So saying things like, you did a good job, actually cements the learning. Instead, you might say things like, I really respond to the emotion of your piece, which is concrete feedback that then would influence future creation. Saying, it looks nice, again, cements the learning. Commenting on their craftsmanship, like, I see that your line is messy, might actually hinder their progression of where they are going because you didn't know that their work was originally matted. Instead, you could ask, explain to me why it looks like this, right? That way, your student might dive into a whole positive explanation or they might take it and tell you that they really struggled. Either way, it's in the ball's in the student's court as to how they respond and gain feedback. Lastly, remember that it is all an experience and we're not going to be perfect. I have my own students, and sometimes I cannot help but say things that I heard myself. So don't feel bad if every once in a while you find yourself coming out with a judgment. Just respond back with a question and it will be like nothing happened. I am so excited and delighted that you are trusting me with your students' learning experience here at Southwest Elementary. Bye.